Hey, hello. How are you? This is Dracula's Place. You are very welcome. I am in the company of two great Dracula horror and Gothic scholars from all over the world. Let's start with the ladies. Magda from Poland. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How you
Glad to
been?
be
Everything's
joining.
cool in Poland?
Everything is fine. We were finally beginning to have some spring, so on a good way.
Okay, so please enjoy this time of the year. And with Yuri in Brazil. How are you, Yuri?
I'm fine. We are starting to get a little bit colder over here, but Brazilian's cold is ridiculous. It's not really cold. It's
Yeah.
just a little detail.
My mind doesn't work well with the other side of the world that you are now almost in winter, no?
Yeah. But our winter, not in Brazil. Brazil is a big country, but in
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro, that's where I live. The winter is ridiculous. It is not a very intense winter.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
nothing going on. You just put
Not as
a
in
shirt
Poland.
with sleeves, and that's it. It's okay.
Yeah, not as in Poland.
Yeah.
Well, we recently seem to have lost 2 seasons. We only have winters,
Yeah,
and it's followed by the summer. So
that's
it's
it.
either very very cold, and then it just turns like that into really hot. So we're waiting for it any day now.
Okay, guys. So let's talk about Dracula. No, the real time reading in Dracula. If we read it as the events take action in the calendar. Right now, Jonathan Harker is in the castle. He already knows that he's in his life is in threat, and he's trying to find the way out. But other than that, we don't know more than that. So Yuri, how about if we start the discussion of Dracula and the importance of this specific passing of the novel, and if you want to open it to the media, let's do this.
This is an interesting topic for me because I love the book, but I think that this specific part of the book is perhaps my favorite
Yeah.
because I think it is the moment that horror is most intense in the book. We have the horrific aspect most intense, especially because it's a part of the book that you don't have explanations for what is happening. Afterwards, when Van Helsing comes in the book, Van Helsing is like a guide. He explains everything. So you stop having that mystery that you have in this particular part of the book. In this part is very scary because this these things that are happening, and Jonathan Harker he can't understand exactly what is happening. So you have this mix of suspense and mystery in one side. You have the horrific aspect in the other side. Uh, and you have the total insanity that process that he is passing. That I think it's maybe what makes me more interested is this dichotomy, if it's something real or if he's having hallucinations, and being awake and being asleep starts having this complexity in his perspective. So I think it's one of my probably my favorite part of the book.
I completely agree with you because this is very dark, and you can feel the darkness in the read, and then when we switch it to the England or the other places, it's another kind of horror because it's more supernatural. Now in this time, we don't know what's happening. No, Harker have suspicions, but as you well said, it could be in their mind. No, how do you feel about this? Stage of the reading, Magda?
I agree with both of you. It's a kind of a meeting of the legends and supernatural and the impossible world that Jonathan Harker doesn't still believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of a clash of reality and myth. at this stage, and the reader can feel it.
Mhm.
And it's wonderful how this part of the book is transferred into movies and various series as well, because it's this part of the film usually that creates the whole atmosphere.
The
For
solo. Yeah.
instance, I'm not even reaching for the oldest productions, which are canonical in creating this whole atmosphere, and we know that something amazing is happening. But even if we look at the most recent BBC adaptation by Moffat and Gatiss, 2020, this is quite a controversial production,
Mm.
but the very beginning, the very first episode is to a large extent happening in the castle,
Mhm.
and we really, if you don't know the novel, you have no idea where it's going, what's happening. You know that something amazing, something supernatural is in the air, but you cannot really specify where the writers and the directors are heading with it. And not much action is happening. We just meet Jonathan Harker, and the viewers are meeting Dracula, and then there is the whole episode of atmospheric events, which cannot really be called events. It's just
Mhm.
an atmosphere, and trying to get get hold of what is really going on in the castle. So it's creating the Gothic uh, in a new sense, in a way, because it's quite a um, modern. Well, it is completely modern and contemporary production, even though it's set in a very Gothic setting in the very beginning.
You're quite right, but and you said something very important. This part of the novel is very relatable with the media. We have seen it in Nosferatu with this hotter character arriving and interacted with Count Orlok. We have it in Dracula from the Universal series, in which this Renfield character is introduced to this character of Bela Lugosi. We have it already in Christopher Lee adaptation, no, and this is a Jonathan Harker who happens to be a librarian, no, but and we have the last time we saw this, even the most important visual instance was Keanu Reeves arriving into this flamboyant Dracula's place, no?
I think that what Magda said something that really is interesting. That this the aspect that you're asking about the mediatic. This is the probably one of the most iconic mediatic parts of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that is very interesting for us to think is that the most famous mediatic moments that we have from the book comes from this part. I am Dracula
Mm-hmm.
is from this part, the presentation, and the image of Bela Lugosi saying "I am Dracula." That is one of the most iconical images of Bela Lugosi. Is from this part. The famous "Children of the Night," that especially
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
is the name of Magda's conference, is from this part. So you have the most iconic phrases of the novel come from this part, and the most iconic elements as well. So it's a very important part of the book in the mediatic aspect as well. And it is interesting what you said, asking about the last parts that we've seen it when we have Keanu Reeves over there in the Castle Dracula in the Coppola's version, because I think that version is a version that he tries to maintain very intimate with the story, but I think it's a total lie. His version has
It's
nothing
a
to do with the
commercial.
book.
It's a commercial thing, no?
Yeah, it's a commercial thing. Has nothing to do with the book. Especially in the main. I think that all of the versions that gets Dracula, that is probably one that in the main theme
Yeah.
most change elements.
Yeah. Yeah.
It changes Dracula to Rome. It starts. The thing is, it's not a horror movie. If you see,
Yeah.
it's more or less a romance.
A romance.
So
Yeah. A dark romance movie.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
dark romance over there. So it is extremely different if we see what is made with the character over there. But this part of Jonathan Harker's in Castle Dracula is extremely interesting in this movie because it is perhaps the one that, in my opinion, passes more of this the atmosphere
Mhm.
that Bram Stoker had in this book. In this case, I would say that this movie is a movie that is really closely related to the book.
Yeah, and that is super interesting because for me, Bram Stoker's Dracula for Coppola is the most faithful adaptation of the novel slash the most unfaithful adaptation of the
Yes.
novel because it keeps the chronological aspects. It brings all the characters. We have like the main the main structure of the novel in there, but the side narration is a love story, as you will say. So it is completely opposed to the novel. But what I like reading Dracula and in this stage is what you will say is this feeling of uncertainty, this feeling of horror that evokes images in our minds, but at the same time are well constructed because of the media. I mean, when you read Dracula, you can almost feel a Bela Lugosi castle, no, in this Gothic tradition, and you can feel like this aura and presence, and it is quite difficult to separate the images that media has come up with, and with the reading. Don't you think, Magda?
Oh, absolutely. And again, this is creating of the Gothic in our minds from the very start of the existence of cinema and of this media, the new media. Um, uh, at the very start, when we had Nosferatu, and if you think about it, it's although there are, as we mentioned many times already, different names, different places, names of the places, but again, this is the same idea. So we have this iconic castle, and Jonathan Harker, whatever his name is in this production, or any other production, because it changes every now and then. So this is the character arriving in the castle and getting into this Gothic atmosphere, which, in terms, because of the visuals in so many films, is um, engraved in our minds nowadays. So
Yeah.
we can see the castle,
Yeah.
whether we have, I don't know, the Romanian Bran castle in our minds, or
Mhm.
the castle where
Mhm.
Nosferatu and the last production, the Stephen and Moffat's were and Nosferatu's production were filmed in the same castle
Mhm.
in Slovakia. So
Mhm.
we're getting back to the same visual images and places, and they are repeated. And they will be cited, they will be quoted in many productions. So
Yeah.
whatever has appeared at the start is getting back. Another element that's recurring are all exotic, usually animals in the castle. I don't know if it's armadillos in Bela Lugosi, rats, of course, but armadillos for some reason that's always
Yeah.
I'm mystified by.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's great. But it's great.
Armadillo. That is so important. What you're talking is so important because popular culture is fulfilled with what you're saying. We can see even Scooby Doo and the castle. No, but in Scooby Doo, another interaction of the castle of the count, we cannot see. I don't know, Lucy Westenra or even Quincy Morris, which are very important into the narrative of the novel. But in this other adaptation from cartoons to comic books, what remains is the images of Transylvania, the images of this long past. No, Yuri.
Yes, I think this reminds me a very interesting story that I discovered when I met Magda actually in Transylvania. It was not together with Magda that I discovered, but it was in that time period. We were in the conference in Transylvania, and of course, as a tourist, I wanted to go to Castle Dracula,
Yeah,
the
to
castle
Bram.
that the novel took place. And we went to Bram Castle. We went together, me and
Yeah,
Magda, to Bram
great.
Castle,
Great.
and there were lots of historical elements over there that were a little complicated in the visit. And we came to the conclusion that the Bram Castle has nothing to do with the with Castle Dracula. The link that it has with Vlad Tepes is very small. The
Yeah,
link that it has with the novel is very small. So actually, it is not the Castle Dracula. And I got really interested about the story and why Bram Castle became Castle Dracula. And I discovered, of course, I'm going to make a very simplistic version
yeah,
of this. That was something like this in the 60s or 70s, probably. Uh, Dracula became very famous in media. So we had lots of tourists visiting Transylvania searching for Castle Dracula. And there was no Castle Dracula over there. So
mm,
the government they started seeing that they needed to present a castle Dracula because the tourists wanted to visit the castle. So they reunited a few scholars and researchers over there, and they gave the task. So we need you to find one of our castles over here for us to elect it as the castle that was from Dracula's, for us
mm,
to make money with tourism over there.
yeah.
And the researchers got together and they came to the conclusion that Bram Castle would be the best castle Dracula based in a few characteristics that they thought of, and Bram Castle became the Castle Dracula.
Castle
And
Dracula.
this is one of the most phenomenal stories that I've heard of, because it is exactly this. Castle Dracula is not Castle Dracula. It is the castle that government smarts that wanted to make some money
Mhm.
thought, well, we need to find a castle over here
Yeah,
for
it's a
these
tourist
tourists. Which one
attraction.
do you think? And
It's
they
a
said,
tourist attraction.
that one. Let's go. Great, that one.
But
It's
Well,
Castle Dracula.
obviously we cannot have the Castle Dracula because it was fictional, so there is no
Yes,
such thing.
but
And in
yes.
fact, some
but
of our
actually,
colleagues,
there's a reference that Stoker saw in one of his in his research, or during his 7 year research. He found an image of Ram Castle, and in my opinion, there are three different castles Dracula. The one of the exterior image, the image of the exterior actually is Bram Castle.
Mhm.
It's the reference that Bram used to describe his castle from the outside. But from the inside is Slane Castle in Scotland, which has the octagonal room and has everything that Bram Stoker mentioned. And the third castle for me is the one that Hans de Roos discovered, and then later Dacre Stoker went and find it, the actual reference given by the coordinates. So for me, there are the castle is divided in these three. Dracula's castle in Romania, which brings the image of the castle. The location is from the Hans de Roos location in very clear, very near to the Borgo Pass. And
Yeah.
and the inside of the castle is Slane Castle. So for me, Dracula for me is a copy paste of several different references that
So
Stoker had
are you
access.
trying to say that Dracula's castle is in Scotland actually? That's a
I mean, it's
revolutionary
divided
thesis.
in three for me. For me, in my personal research, I came out with these three
No, no,
locations.
I understand. Yes, I'm joking.
I
I'm
have a
joking.
different opinion of Castle Dracula actually, because of course it's a literary product, so
Mhm.
of course it's fictional.
Yeah,
But I think Castle Dracula, and I had this hypothesis, and it was, for me at least, I felt like it was the right way. when I visited this place, that is Whitby Abbey. For me, Castle Dracula is Whitby Abbey, actually. I think it has some characteristics over there that are very interesting from the Dracula novel. And Bram Stoker wrote most of the book over there. He had lots of inspirations over there. And the bench where he sat down and looked to the sea, it's in front, it's in the other side of Whitby Abbey. And of course, Whitby is a very small city. It's impossible for Bram Stoker not to have visited Whitby Abbey. That is basically one of the basic touristic points over there. And of course, he visited Whitby Abbey, and I think it has a perfect atmosphere and a perfect geographical construction that passes the idea of what exactly is Castle Dracula. So for me, at least, Castle Dracula is Whitby Abbey.
I like your idea, but actually, Whitby Abbey became like very very contextual part of the novel because you can feel it, you can visit it. It is very real. As it is not like Castle Dracula, which can be divided or reimagined in whichever form. No.
Well, actually, to be honest, regardless of the tourist and the place that they have to visit, have physical place to visit, I think that the best Castle Dracula is the one that is in our heads, that we can imagine, and is more than just a building. It's something that we revere because we don't really know that, and it's something beyond, and it's supernatural and forever threatening.
That is perfect. That is exactly what I think, because one sensation that I have is that I've never seen a place that for me was Castle Dracula, and I've never seen a representation in movies that I think it was Castle Dracula, because the image that I have from Castle Dracula from the book is a totally different place, the most horrifying place that we can imagine. And I think that the geographical aspects of Castle Dracula are somehow supernatural in a way that is very difficult for us to imagine it physically, because the confusing aspect of the descriptions are a great thing of this castle. So for me, it has a very supernatural and metaphysic aspect over there that can't be shown in images from Castle Dracula. So
but actually, what you're saying is very interesting, because Bram Stoker put a lot of effort in describing the ambience. Even you can feel the smell, no? Because when Jonathan Harker is going down into the crypt, you can actually feel the rottenness of the environmental and that kind of stuff. So I agree with you. About the castle is very complicated because it's in our mind, no?
It is extremely claustrophobic, the castle as well. It is claustrophobic in an aspect, but in the other aspect, you have a description of a very big geographical space. So this is based on this part of the book that I think it's incredible, and it gives a claustrophobic sensation as well when you are reading this specific part. So I think it's something that it is so based on your horror sensation over there that we will never have a Castle Dracula that is good as not enough as the one that we read about.
So much more than what you can close in four walls.
Yes,
it feels like a supernatural labyrinth, like a maze. No,
it is exactly that what it feels. It is extremely impacting the Castle Dracula over there.
And the other thing important is the translations in Icelandic and the other languages that Hans de Roos discovered recently. is that there are a lot of things happening in the castle which are not depicted in the actual novel. No, there are so many different characters, and some strange things are happening in there because there are it is a more satanic place. It is more relatable with witchery and even like rituals dedicated to the devil. No.
Uh, I think Magda will probably know how to answer this better than me. But for me, Castle Dracula, this is the point that we have that is more complex in the novel, because Castle Dracula for me is not a place of that a vampire is staying. It is a place of the supernatural.
The
So
super.
you have diverse
Love it.
possibilities over there that are presenting
I love it.
themselves as a threat for Jonathan Harker, and he's totally lost because he's seen this strange places, like he's in a different dimension over there
Wow.
with things that he's never seen before. And when we move on to the rest of the narrative, it becomes a vampire novel.
Yeah.
Becomes a vampire novel because the focus starts being in that vampire character. But in that time, you have a supernatural, totally Gothic, in all of the Gothic elements novel over there. You have you don't have exactly a vampirism. You have werewolves, vampires, and witches, and magic, and every possible spooking thing that you have in the book happens over there in a very strange way.
All sorts of children of the night reside in the castle.
You're working.
Well,
Can you tell us about the work you're doing right now, Magda, about this?
about sorry, about what
You're
exactly?
working on a book. I understand.
Yes, yes, yes. But we are working on the book. We're trying to make sure that what we've done at the Congress, at the Children of the Night Congress that we held in April, and which was held online, and the three of us were present as well, and many others. That we can, well, the texts are published and that we are memorized, and the event is memorized in some way. So we want to become immortal by by placing our text in a book. And at the moment, well, the book is coming later on, but at the moment we are working on putting up the book of abstracts, which is like a memoir of the whole Congress, together with its history and roots and what was happening exactly, stage by stage. Next stage is going to be the full book with the text of people who want to contribute, and we are collecting these at the moment. So it's going to be published hopefully this year in autumn in the Transylvania University of Brasov.
Oh, wonderful,
Bulletin.
wonderful. Very
So
close
I'm hoping
to Castle Bram, actually.
this is, yes, exactly, and I think that for this very reason, it's going to be attractive for readers and for contributors as well. So we will
Wonderful,
see how it works out. We'll keep you
wonderful.
informed about the details.
Okay, guys. So this was a very interesting talk about Castle Dracula, no, and the importance and how it has been translated into media and how it's relevant into our mind. Do you have any final words on this topic of Castle Dracula?
Uh,
Magda, you can start. I started all the talkings today. So
yes, you're very talkative today, but maybe it's good. Well, it's always good. Uh, final thoughts. Well, as I said at the very beginning, that this is such an important. Yuri was saying the same, and you, Enrique, as well. It's such an important part of the book because it sets the background for everything that is going to happen next, and most of all, it's creating the Gothic atmosphere. So, actually, I would be very happy with seeing new productions. Even though we have over 300 already, various Dracula-related productions and adaptations. But I would really like to see what more of what 21st century filmmakers are doing with it. And again, I'm getting back to this recent production, which I'm actually fascinated. I know that it's very, very controversial for many reasons, but I'm fascinated by uh, by it in general. And this first episode, as I said, it's enclosed. We never go out. Apart from the short moment of arrival into the castle, and we are enclosed. It's claustrophobic space. We never go out. Jonathan Harker wanders around exploring and finding all sorts of horror inside, and I think it's really a wonderful space to explore for so many other directors as well and filmmakers. So I would be very interested to see. Oh, you have some werewolves over there.
Yeah, yeah, the children of the night, you know. Sorry
The
about
children of the night, exactly. And we need more of it.
that. Yuri.
I think I'm with Magda. I'm hoping to see more movies about Dracula. I've seen all possible movies of Dracula due to my research, and even the trashiest movies of Dracula. I've seen the trashiest representations of Dracula that you can imagine. Some were fun, some were kind of depressing, but I continue interested in seeing more, because the thing is, Dracula normally lots of representations are very bad, but the good representations are extremely interesting. And even if you have something that has some elements that are good, some elements that are bad, are always very curious to watch. So I'm looking forward to see the next Dracula movie as well. And about Castle Dracula and Jonathan Harker's period over there, I think that the fact that what happens after this part of the book, this part of the narrative, shows the impact that this specific part of the novel has, because Jonathan Harker gets crazy, gets totally crazy. He gets insane, and the impact that this experience has to Jonathan Harker is perhaps one of the most impacting things of the book. Because when we see Jonathan Harker totally destructed after this experience and alive, but he's alive, but he's not the same, and this is something that is really impacting and shows the impact of this part. So the fact that he gets crazy, that things get extremely strange for him, and he gets totally insane in this description, for me is very interesting, and it shows the most the part of the book that is stranger, and for this reason probably most terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. And you were talking about what exciting is to have the opportunity to see new adaptations and to see new media. But how about video games? Wouldn't you like to be inside Castle Dracula and trying to escape from it?
I would like, but the thing is, I stopped playing video games when I was very young, because I was very bad at video games, and it stopped being fun for me if I was losing all the time. So I stopped playing video games, and I started dedicating to activities that I had more that I was better.
I can relate.
I was pretty good in sports, so I spent more time practicing sports than video games. I stopped very very early, like as a kid. My friends all played video games, and I had already stopped because I know it wasn't my thing. I was terrible at it, so I stopped very early.
How about you, Magda? Do you play any games?
Well, if I ever have a moment of time before I retire, I will give it a go, but it never happened so far. I'm
Okay.
sorry to say, I'm ashamed to say really, but I know I never tried any game. Although I know I should because it's 21st century for goodness sake, but
Okay. So
it's just was always somewhere beyond me.
let,
So
let,
happening beyond me.
let's hope
I was
someone
more.
someone make
I
a.
have been.
Sorry about that.
I have always been a book type of person
Yeah,
and definitely a cinema type of person. So video games was not my thing. Well,
yeah, but
maybe I don't know that it's my thing. So.
we should wait until the passing of the times, because nowadays we are living in a time which technology is very advanced, and we can have the experience of the novel working as a VR virtual reality experience. And imagine that you are Jonathan for a moment and you are talking with a cow. No, that will be
Oh, all
amazing.
right. I would like to try and be a count, to be
Definitely,
honest,
definitely.
and
We
see
should
the
go
world
there.
through his eyes for a change. Because we
Yeah,
always hear the story from the perspective of everyone else.
that is a super interesting idea. Okay, guys. So let's keep it short for today, and let's end this conversation. Thank you so much for being here, Yuri. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Always a pleasure talking about Dracula over here, and great moment talking about the specific parts of the book that has lots of elements for us to talk, and it was very interesting.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Magda.
Thank you very much again, and I can't wait for the next chapter, which is it's interesting that we're following the book and in the real time as you are reading it online day by day, so
Super.
we can read small parts and be up to date every week
Wonderful.
discussing this particular part.
It's an honor
And,
to have these conversations with you guys. Thank you so much.
and the same to you, Enrique. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And for the
Thank you.
audience, if you like what we are doing here in these conversations, please give us a like and share this content. We will be back shortly. Thank you so much. Have a nice one.
Bye.
Bye.